Kaivalya Kaivalya
Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, KYG as we all know it. Thank you all for joining. It's been such a long time before we had such a long, it was rather unforeseen, and I apologize for the long break, but it was something we just couldn't avoid. So I hope you understand. These are just beginning stages of KYG, and in the first few years I think we have the baby steps that we are taking. We come across a lot of stumbling blocks in various forms, but nevertheless it's part of the challenge, it's part of growing. I do want to thank you for your patience and for your perseverance and showing so much interest in these classes and waiting to want more. That is the greatest motivation that really brings me back to this table and wanting to share, because I know that even if we don't have thousands and millions of people, it really doesn't matter. Even if there is a handful of people wanting this, then I will consider the objective of KYG fulfilled. Because that is what we do. We transfer the knowledge that we have, the wisdom that we have, to the extent we can, to the extent we know, and we pass it on. So, welcome to this class. As always, we learn these things in a very reverential way, in a very mindful manner, and therefore let us begin this class with 3 Oms as always. We are still in the Sri Kalahasti temple, the temple of Shiva that is dedicated primordially to the Vayu element, and therefore let us mentally prostrate at this temple, tune into the energy of this temple, and continue with our learning. So far in the Vayu element, we have covered the basics of what kind of pranas, the 5 major pranas, and the 5 upavayus, or the minor pranas. And we did that in the last couple of classes. If you do wish to refresh your memories, please do visit those classes again till you get these basics right. Because as we go along this yoga path, when we suddenly say, let's work on the Samana Vayu or Vyana Vayu and Udana Vayu, then we should be immediately able to tune into what the functions of these Vayus were, and what is the purpose, and so on. So in today's class, we are going to touch upon another basic element in this Vayu, and that is called Nadis. Nadis. So what is a Nadi? Nadi is of course a Sanskrit word, and really there is no English translation for this, honestly. I could Google on the internet and give you a word, but I didn't find anything that comes even close. It is like the word chakra, which has really no English translation. or the word yoga, for example, there is really no English word. So it's better for those of you who are new to these terms, Sanskrit terms, just learn them as they are. So what is a nadi? A nadi, we know Vayu is air, and nadi is therefore something that carries this air, this energy, or this life force, because air, prana, has got many variations as we learnt in the previous class. So we need this life force to be carried to different parts of the body. There is some energy that pushes the blood to different parts of the body, right? Of course, the heartbeat does. But then the messages that is carried from the brain to the different parts of the body, there is something that is taking these messages to different part of the body. There is some energy or life force that is helping in in digesting food and converting that food into nutrients that's reabsorbed in the blood and circulates that nutrients all over. So all of this is happening through different pressures, through different life forces in different forms. Those are the prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana that we already learned. How do they do that? How are they able to carry that? How is prana able to move up? How is udana able to express itself? How is vyana, that goes into all different parts of the body, into the nervous system and helps the nerves to communicate? How does all that happen? We know they do that, but how are they able to do it? They are able to do it through these vessels called the nadi. So the way we can understand nadi is through synonyms, if you will, or metaphors, if you will. Think of you have a beautiful car and you want to go from one place to another. What do you need the most? You need a road on which that car can go. Of course, you assume you put the fuel in the car and you have everything done, but without a road, you just can't use the car, right? So you need a road. The road becomes the vessel. The road becomes the pathway. The road becomes a channel that will help your car move from one place to another. So nadis are channels that help the life forces in many forms, in the main 5 pranas and the upapranas, all that we studied in the last 2 classes, all of them to move and perform their functions. Nadis are very important. And therefore, this is what nadi is. So what is nadi? Nadi is a vessel. Nadi is a channel through which prana flows, through which apana flows, through which vyana flows, through which samana flows, through which udana flows. And all the other upavayus like naga, kurma, and all of those. So all of these life energies flow through what is called nadis. One common misconception that I find in the internet today, and I just want to caution you with that, and you can do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Caution you is that nadis are not nerves. It's very easy to confuse them. And chakras are not endocrine glands, right? So it's very easy to confuse these things. So nadis are nadis. This is all, there is an astral connection here. What we are doing here and studying here at this point has no direct medical relevance in the body. But we can relate to it in terms of the functions that take place in the body. Okay? So nadis are not nerves. At this point, don't relate it to something physical and think this is what it is. You can there is a parallel you can draw. It's like the nerves, because nerves exist all through the body. They communicate, they carry messages, and so on and so forth. But they are not nerves. Nadis are channels that help the life force move from one place to another. And the nadis actually later on, when you practice and as we understand this, will connect you to the other dimensions. They are channels that take you from this bhuloka, this earthly plane, to the other dimensions as well. And those dimensions are not outside you, but then for that connection, you need nadis. Nerves can't do that anyway. So just defining them as nerves or understanding them as nerves cannot get you very far. So nadis, understand the nadis as channels through which these energies flow. All right. Why is nadi relevant in a spiritual yogic lifestyle? I think I kind of answered it. But then it's more understanding the importance rather than the relevance. Without nadis, without understanding the nadis, without purifying the nadis mainly, the energy will not flow. Now, if you look at advanced countries, one of the greatest things about a country like USA is the infrastructure. That's why there are huge discussions every year in the Congress about passing infrastructure bills and so on, right? Infrastructure is the key, is like the artery, the system that connects the entire country together. It has a very advanced infrastructure, right? The roadways, the railways is very advanced, waterways, very advanced. It's very well thought of, very laid out, very well planned. Okay, one of the best in the world. If that infrastructure was not there, then the country would not be where it is today. Infrastructure plays a very key role. What does infrastructure do? Good roadways, good railways, good waterways help in movement of goods and services from one place to another. And that is vital for economic growth, for the health of the country, right? Apply that same analogy to the human body, to the human psyche, and to the spirit. Without the healthy functioning of the nadis, without the nadis being pure and clean so that the energy can flow freely, without that, spiritual progress is limited. Spiritual experiences are limited. What one would call as an experience, for somebody else, that would only be a concept, would only be an imagination, would not become a real experience. In order for a concept to become real, in order to experience something, you need the nadis to be clean, so that the energy can flow through that nadi and go to a place where it's intended to be, and then bring about that change or shift in the consciousness. And so nadis play such a vital role in this whole idea of spiritual progress, in this whole concept of spiritual experience, and so on. Many times, because of impurity of nadis, what happens is people say, I had a Kundalini experience, it was very bizarre, I felt whole body shaking, I had electrical surges up the spine, and I just felt scared, I got out of it. Those happen because of impurity in the nadis. I hate to burst the bubble, but that's what it is. It is because of impurities in the nadis. It's like sparks in a wire. You just accidentally meet two wires and then they spark, right? And so you don't need those sparks in spiritual progress. Spiritual progress and awakening of consciousness is a very gentle, beautiful thing, like a blossoming of a lotus, a blossoming of a flower. That is how it is. Not in jerks and fits and jerks like that. But those do happen, right? Why do they happen? Because the energy, you have charged the energy, and the energy wants to move, but the nadi is not clean enough. And therefore the energy either gushes out or comes back sharply, and so on. These things we experience as I was meditating and I had very bad dreams. I went deep into meditation and I suddenly got into a state of deep fear. Some people write to me saying they had the chakras in the spine got lit up and they felt very awkward. Sometimes it leads to body pain, headaches and so on, or lack of sleep. All of these are signs, very simple actually, straightforward. And one has to face the truth that these are signs, good in the sense that they are saying, okay, at least something is happening, that the energy is beginning to move. Yes, but if you don't clean the nadis, if the nadis are not clear, then you cannot get very far. And therefore, nadis become very, very, very relevant in spiritual path, no matter what the path is. In yoga is not, for me at least, it's not a matter of choice. It's like something like such a basic thing. Without that, because there are so many practices in yoga that takes care of all these basic things, set the infrastructure and everything in place, keep them clean, keep them vibrant, the body, the breath, the nadis, and then the pranas begin to move, and then you enjoy with your chants, with your singing and meditation, and all of that becomes the cream or a cherry on the cake. Is that what they call? Icing on the cake, right? Well, I'm not a big fan of cakes, but nevertheless, we'll go with that metaphor. But the basics have to be in place. And therefore, for me, yogic practices are really something that it's like eating or bathing or taking a shower every morning or brushing your teeth. It's like some of the basic things that needs to be practiced for somebody who is yearning for or looking for higher states of consciousness, experiencing higher states of consciousness. Now, if somebody is satisfied reading books and intellectually just simply analyzing, conceptualizing and all of that, that's fine. You can stick to reading books and so on. But if somebody says, what are they talking about? What was that Paramahamsa Yogananda experience? What is it that Ramana Maharishi experienced? What was it that Ramakrishna experienced? What was that Vivekananda experience? These saints talk about this higher state. How did they experience that? I want to experience that. If that is a desire in your heart, if that is a yearning in your heart, then in the yogic path, they have laid down steps as to how we can cleanse, keep these nadis in shape. Now, as we discuss in this class, always understand that because in this one class I can't cover everything, but always understand that in yogic path, these techniques that we talk about or methods that we talk about are never studied in isolation. There is a lifestyle that supports this. Now, if you are indulging in food and there is no other discipline in other parts of your life, and then you are just practicing nadi and all of these cleansing nadis and techniques, it's really going to have little or no effect. So please take it with a pinch of salt, anything that I share, because it is in the larger scheme of things. That is why in KYG right now, we seem to be all over the place, but then eventually we'll understand that all of this is part of one lifestyle. Because we don't have an ashram where people can come and live and then understand it, right? Because the ashram contains the whole lifestyle. And then when you sit and study, you're studying it in the context of the lifestyle that you're living in. But when you look at a virtual session like this, you just pick up a session and listen to it, then you might think of it in isolation. So I need to put that disclaimer for your own benefit. All right. So how many nadis are there? Honestly speaking, I don't know. Nevertheless, what I have read about in the yoga texts is there are 72,000 nadis. 72,000 nadis in the body. Again, these are not nerves, but channels in the body that connects different parts of your body to different things, different dimensions and so on. They are so numerous. They may have been texts in the past, because these are all thousands of years old, this kind of wisdom and knowledge. We don't know. There are 14 nadis from those 72 nadis. But what we will study in today's class is 3 important nadis that you and I can relate to. And if you take care of these 3 principal nadis, they in turn purify all the other nadis. So we haven't really lost by not knowing what those 72,000 nadis are. We haven't lost much. We haven't lost anything at all, because they all function as sub-nadis of this main 3 nadis. What are these 3 nadis that function and that you and I can relate to it almost instantly? The first one is called the Ida nadi or the Chandra nadi. Ida means left. The left channel, the left nostril. Because the nostril is what? A channel for the air to come and go. That is a simple way to understand. But it's not just the left nostril, but it's the left side of the body. But nevertheless, we will relate to it as left nostril simply because our practices relate to the nostrils. Okay, but then your nostril is merely used as a point of reference, but it actually refers to the left side, the left channel, the broad one. So all the other nadis that come in this part of the body is taken care of by the Chandra Nadi, Ida Nadi. Ida means left. What does Chandra mean? Chandra means the moon. Chandra means the moon. Ida means left. So either way, it is the same. So Ida or Chandra. Why do we need to know this? Because when you read poetries written by yogis like Adi Shankara and others, they will make references. They will say sun and the moon. Shiva's head has, Shiva on one side has the moon, on the other side Dakshinamurti has the sun, or they have earrings, sun and the moon. So you have to understand they are talking of these nadis that are vibrant in them. So sun and the moon are references to these. In general, the Ida or the Chandra Nadi is understood as the Nadi that cools your body, slows down the body. The psyche, the thought process, so body-mind, let's understand this as the body-mind. The nature of Ida Nadi, the nature of this channel is such that when prana flows through this channel, when all the vayus flow through this channel, your system slows down, your thought processes slow down, your psyche slows down. It is considered more of an introvert in nature, the Ida or the Chandra Nadi. We take you to become more of an introvert. It's good and bad, right? Too much of it leads you to depression, low self-esteem, is all uncontrolled Ida or Chandra Nadi. When it is uncontrolled, then it takes you deep inside. Then you become extremely lazy. You sleep way too much. You're not able to think clearly. You have brain fog. All of that is also Ida and Chandra Nadi. Think of a channel which is very difficult to drive. Your path is becoming very difficult. Your driving speed is going to slow down a lot. Too many signals. Or there's too many people on the road, and therefore you're just crawling, right? It's not like a highway where you can zip past. Or it's very dark. You can't see, so you're driving extremely slowly, and you perhaps don't have headlights in your car. I'm just thinking of metaphors that you can understand and how we can relate to Ida and Chandra Nadi. So when the Chandra Nadi is active, good or bad is all depends on extremes of these, right? If it's extremely uncontrolled, then it leads to all of that. Upset sleep cycles, sleeping too much, laziness, all of that comes, and then that will lead to excess of apana vayu, dragging your energy down, and so on and so forth. So all of that, there are so many implications to this. But at this point, just broadly understand, Chandra Nadi is generally slowing down. Slowing down is good, right? There are times we need to think and ponder and become creative in our ideas. Creativity doesn't come when you're caught up in a fast-paced life. You need to smell the rose, watch the sunrise to get that idea. That's why people take, even in corporate workshops and retreats, they say, let's go to a place and brainstorm for new ideas. Why? They want to break away, slow down their pace of life, right? Watch the moon, sit in the open, and then talk about ideas, because that is when this Chandra Nadi, they are hoping that Chandra Nadi can come alive. They are not aware of this. But then the point here is, when you slow down generally, Chandra Nadi will become active, or when Chandra Nadi is active, you will naturally slow down. So it gives room for creativity, room for deep thought, room for introspection, room for contemplation, and it is the Nadi for meditation. Not advanced stages of meditation, but for you to get into meditation. Meditation as we understand today is not simply, okay, I've got the music on, I've got everything on, all right, I want to try and meditate because 8 o'clock to 8:15 I have to meditate. That cannot happen. It's never meant to be like that. What if the Ida and the Chandra Nadi is not active at that point? You will not be able to meditate. Maybe you might experience something because you have soft music you're listening to, or you're practiced well, and therefore to some extent you experience a little bit of calming, but other than that you cannot really get any any aha moments. The beauty of meditation begins when you embark on this Chandra Nadi, Ida Nadi. So moon or Chandra Nadi, Ida, the left side, is about slowing down, is about it's introspective, going within. It is about creativity, it is about imagination, it is about intuition, it is about lowering your blood pressure. All of this comes in the Ida or the Chandra Nadi. Okay? Then comes the other side, the right side, Pingala. Pingala is the right side. Pingala, if you have moon, you have to have the sun on the other side. Surya Nadi. Surya means the sun. So you have Chandra and Surya. Chandra is the left, Surya is the right. Understand this basic thing in yoga. After that, you should never think, wait, which was what? Which was what? Was Chandra right? Or Chandra is left, Surya is right. Chandra is the Ida Nadi, Surya is the Pingala Nadi. Surya has all the qualities exactly opposite to the Chandra Nadi. Surya is outgoing. Surya is an extrovert. Surya is about raising your blood pressure. Surya is about being active. Surya Nadi is all about going out. Think of the qualities of the sun. He rises, he's not shy. Right? He rises gently, but then he becomes brighter, brighter, brighter. He moves fast and he sets. That is why Om Khagaya Namaha we say in Surya Namaskar, because the Khagaya Namaha, he moves as fast as a rabbit. I mean, how fast can he go? So that's how it is. He goes fast. And that's Chandra Nadi. Surya Nadi. So Pingala, when Pingala Nadi is active in your body, you are an extrovert. You are out to meet people, meet and greet people. You are not shy. You project yourself out there. You're able to shake hands. You're able to bring confidence. You want to speak in public. Surya Nadi. You want to be out there. Surya Nadi. These are the secrets that if we understand and we are able to tame these nadis in us and able to open these channels. So imagine you're planning a trip in your car and you're leaving for office and you need to get to office fast. And then the Google says you got this slow way or you got this highway, which is clear right now. You will take the highway and go. So if you have that Google map, you will know what to choose, Ida Nadi or Pingala Nadi, correct? You can choose. Sometimes you will say, no, I don't want. I just want to take my time because I have to prepare for my meeting, so I will take this slow path. So in the meantime, I'll get time to think as I go. I have time. So you might take the Ida Nadi. But the choice is up to you. How do you get to make that choice? Whether you want to take the slow path, the Ida Nadi, or you want to take the highway and go fast out there like an extrovert, like the sun. How do you do that? Because of the Google map. Because of the GPS that is in your car, right? So that GPS is the yogic practice that makes us aware of these nadis. And with the lifestyle that surrounds it, these nadis become more and more real, more and more clean, so that the experience in our psyche, in our body and everything becomes very real. We can experience it. You will be able to bring your blood pressure down through the Ida Nadi. You can raise the blood pressure up through the Pingala Nadi. But not without a lifestyle that supports it. Now if you are eating excessive salt and indulging in food which are totally against health, then none of these will help. Okay, so I keep reminding because people say, okay, I practice this but nothing is happening. So you have to understand it in the context of a lifestyle. But nevertheless, we have to learn one step at a time. So let's understand these concepts first clearly. Left and right channels. And there are combinations of these left and right channels that we experience on a day-to-day basis. Okay? I'll try and see if it falls in the context. It does actually, but I need to get some more time to touch upon some of the aspects of these through a scripture that is available to us that discusses a lot of these. It goes to such ridiculously detailed paths that it will surprise you. For example, You know what? I'll keep it for the next class. I don't want to really lose the track here. But that's very exciting. Even out of if you are curious, let me know. I will share that in the next class. Just some of that you'll be like, wow, really? If that really works, that'll be awesome. So that is how they have understood and analyzed what you can do if you can control and open and close these nadis at will. Okay? When I say at will, nobody in those days ever did that. Okay, 2 minutes in this nadi, 2 minutes in that nadi. It doesn't work like that. But then different times of the day you will operate it from different nadis depending on how you want it to. So Ida and Chandra nadi are these two systems in our body, primordial systems, left and right. Then comes the Sushumna nadi. Sushumna nadi is that nadi which connects you into other dimensions. Sushumna nadi is that nadi that makes you aware of other dimensions, that makes you experience other dimensions. Not imagination, not intuition. You will actually experience it just as you experience this dimension. So that opening of the Sushumna nadi and the prana entering the Sushumna nadi, all that is very advanced practice. We cannot, and I'll say this consciously and mindfully, we cannot consciously make that happen. It comes as a result of a very, very intense yogic lifestyle. When I say intense means you're taking care of all the aspects of the lifestyle. And then as a result of grace, the Sushumna nadi will open. As a result of grace, that Sushumna nadi opens. Okay? When that opens, it's a very, very beautiful journey, and it's not a permanent thing again. You can come back and it will come back to Ida and Pingala. For most of us, in order to lead a healthy lifestyle, Ida and Pingala, understanding Ida and Pingala is great. Sushumna will come for those of us who take spiritual lifestyle very seriously, practice eating habits and sleeping habits. In other words, all of the 6 sama, dhamma, uparati, titiksha, and all of the 6 qualities that we learnt or we saw in Lessons of Varanasi. If you haven't seen that sequence, please do see, because I have discussed some of the important prerequisites that a spiritual aspirant has to have. So when we have all of that in place, and we live a disciplined lifestyle, and we practice yoga sincerely and regularly, then the nadis, firstly the Ida and Pingala, the Ida and Pingala gets clean. They have to be completely clean, and the prana has to flow so much that you have complete control. Then you will become aware, oh wait a minute, there is a third nadi inside of me. Okay? So we will leave the discussion on the Sushumna nadi for later purposes, because I don't want you to understand or I don't want you to confuse you at this point. Let us do with what you and I can relate to at this point in terms of practice. Alright, now we come to cleansing these nadis. So we know what these nadis are, what they can do broadly, right? And having understood that what is Ida, what is Pingala, how do I cleanse these nadis? That's the most important thing. Now, Nadi Shodhana Kriyas. Nadi means the channels, okay? Shodhana is cleansing. So there are Kriyas. Again, Kriyas have really no English terms. Kriyas are actions that you can do in terms of asanas or pranayama or other practices that can help in cleaning the nadis. I'll tell you some of the most popular ones. We touched upon this in our during the Hanuman Yagna. We did the Kriyas, and we have touched upon this, and I have that as separately as KYG Yogic Kriyas, right? We have it as a separate playlist, Yogic Kriyas, which have 100 classes. Each class slowly builds up on all of these Kriyas. It helps in cleansing these nadis. It's a 15-20 minute minimum practice every day. One has to engage in it if you really want to cleanse his nadis. Okay. So now Chandra Bheda Kriya. Chandra. Now Chandra means what? Ida. We are talking of the left side. Chandra Bheda or Ida Nadi. how do you cleanse this side? So the kriyas that we do in this is Chandra Bheda. Bheda means that which pierces the left channel. The air that you breathe in pierces the left nostril. A simple way to understand that. When you breathe in through the left nostril, you are doing Chandra Bheda. So you have two types of Chandra Bheda. The first one is left in, left out. So you close the right nostril, you sit up tall and straight, and you simply breathe in and out through the left nostril. You can do this or you can do this. You breathe in, you breathe out. Ideally in the ratio of 1:2, you breathe in for 1 count, breathe out for 2 counts. Or you breathe in for 4 counts, you breathe out for 8 counts. You breathe in Ram, 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 Ram. Mentally, of course, you're chanting as you breathe in. And then you breathe out Ram, 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 Ram. Then again you breathe. So 1:2, you always breathe out more than you breathe in. That's a fundamental principle of yogic breathing. So when you do the just left in, left out, left in, left out, left in, left out, that is called the Chandra Bheda Kriya. Chandra Bheda Kriya will begin to cleanse the Chandra Nadi. The other version of Chandra Bheda Kriya, after doing this, you go left in, right out. Then left in, right out. This is a more milder version than the first one. Both has to be done. The first one really brings about a powerful cleansing, and then you begin to let the energy flow out of the right. So bring in, left in, right out. Left in, right out. Left in, right out. You don't go back like this. You simply go left in, right out. I've explained these things more in detail in those yogic kriyas. How do we practice this Chandra? And we open up and cleanse the Chandra Bheda, activate the Chandra in us. So left in, right out. These are the two ways of doing the Chandra Bheda. It's also called Chandra Bheda Pranayama because it helps at controlling the prana. But I like to call it the kriyas. They are simply kriyas because you're not really controlling the prana through this. You're merely cleansing the nadis. So they are more of cleansing. The purpose of this is cleansing the Chandra Nadi, Ida Nadi. Then comes the Surya Bheda Kriya, which is exactly opposite, right? Surya Bheda is first is you close the left nostril like this or like this. Then you breathe in and out only through the right nostril. Again 1:2 ratio or 4:8 or 8:16. However you can do comfortably. So you can use a mantra or you can simply count. It really doesn't matter. So when you do this and out, in and out, you are cleansing the Surya Nadi, you are activating the Surya side in your body. Both happens. So left in, right out, right in, right out, right in, right out. Then what happens, the second version of it is right in, left out. Right in, left out. Bheda is piercing, it has to pierce in. So you breathe in, it pierces the right side. And then you breathe out through the left. Pierce the right, breathe out through the left. So these are the two versions, Chandra Bheda and Surya Bheda. So you can practice Chandra Bheda for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can do Surya Bheda for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Because in a normal maintenance kind of practice, you need both of them active. You can't say, okay, I just want only my Chandra Bheda active. We can't do that unless it's for therapeutic purposes, unless you have somebody supervising you and say, all right, let's do this. Because too much of one side will end up in creating excess of that energy. You don't want that. And then comes the Nadi Shodhana. The Nadi Shodhana Kriya. Nadi Shodhana is left in, right out. Then you reverse, right in, left out. Come back again, left in, Chandra Bheda, right out. Then Surya Bheda, right in, left out. You do both, left in, right out, right in, left out. That is a fairly popular practice in all the yogic schools today. They will call it Anuloma Viloma, or they call it Nadi Shodhana Pranayama. left in, right out, right in, left out. So that is a very safe way to practice. All of these are safe, provided you don't do it too long. This one you can do as long as you want, because it eventually ends up balancing both sides of your body. You can do it for 35 minutes, you can do it for half an hour or so, right? So you can do this as long as you want. It's absolutely safe. Now, I do want to point out one important fact. When we talk of these nadis, especially the Chandra Nadi, the left side, and the Surya Nadi, right side, if you observe, it's available for all of us to observe, at any given point in time, such as even now, only one of these nadis will be active. Both won't be active. So if you take a moment and just gently close one nostril and breathe in and out, and close the other nostril, you will notice that one nostril, it's very, very easy. The breath simply flows almost effortlessly. The other side is slightly blocked. It's a very subtle thing you got to notice. It's very subtle. It could be a Chandra Nadi, it could be a Surya Nadi, right? Now, in about 90 minutes or 2 muhurtams, as I say, 2 45-minute sessions later, in other words, 90 minutes. Around 90 minutes or so, they move, it shifts. If right now, if your Chandra Nadi is active, right now, my Chandra Nadi seems to be active. I don't know when it began, so I don't know when it will move, unless I want to move it to Surya Nadi now. But I just want to show you that in about 90 minutes or so, assuming it started now, in about 90 minutes or so, when I test, it will be like my Surya Nadi has become more active. And then I will see, oh, now I can breathe through the right nostril very easily. The left becomes, goes back to being slightly blocked. It's a very subtle thing. So if you can't feel it right now, don't mind. Just take your time to sit quietly and observe. And go on observing. 2 or 3 days, you'll be able to understand the difference between one nostril, which is where the breath flows very easily, and the other one where it takes a little slower to go. So this is a fact of life. You cannot spend the whole day with both nostrils active. But assuming you live the lifestyle of a yogi, then there are 2 times in a day, primarily 2 times in a day, where both these nostrils come open. That means they are very balanced, in a state of balance. That is at dawn and dusk. When there is balance in nature itself. That is why they would say meditate in dawn time, meditate in the dusk, because both the channels are open. It's very easy to practice the pranayama. The energy is flowing very beautifully, and you will feel an uplifted mood for you to practice yoga, take deep breathings and so on, and really get into a very healthy practices and also settle down for meditation. Okay, so these are little tips. May or may not happen now simply because of our sleeping habits. You sleep late or you sleep at different odd hours. We have moved so much away from our own nature in the last 100 or 200 years, which is just a blip in our human evolution. Not even a blip, it's like milliseconds in our human evolution. We have gone so far away from everything that we worked for over millions of years in our evolution. We have gone away from that, unfortunately. And therefore what happens is we will not be able to experience these things. We read about it, we won't be able to experience. But nevertheless, all is not lost. If you make efforts, you will stumble into these experiences and you'll be able to regain control over these, because these are not something so difficult to get back in the system. Nadi Shodhana. Nadis can be cleansed and Nadis can help you experience greater health in your life. So there are ways to activate this Ida and Pingala, and I'll give you some playful tips for you to practice. Like when I say I want to activate Ida now, or I want to activate Pingala now, ways to do that. One is, of course, the Nauli Kriya. You have seen me do that. There are other yogic videos as well. where you pull in the stomach and then you move the recti muscles left and right. It appears that you're rotating the stomach muscles, but you're moving it left, right. So when you move from left to right, left to right, left to right, then you're activating the right side of the body. When you move from right to left, right to left, right to left, right to left, you will activate the left side of the body. So there are practices in yoga. When you read some of these scriptures, they'll say activate it'll be said not so clearly as I'm telling you now, but it'll be said in different words. But then what they're saying is activate the Chandra Nadi first before you get into a particular practice. So how do you activate Chandra Nadi? They will say shift the Nadi, shift the prana to the left side. Now you will say, okay, wait, what do you mean by shift the prana to the left side? This is what it is. So there are ways to shift the prana. One is Nauli. Nauli is, for those of you who know, it's a very simple way a very powerful, very quick and simple way to move. In 5 minutes of practice or 7 minutes of that practice will activate the side that you want activated. For example, when I go for my yoga practice in the morning, I make sure that my Pingala is activated. So I will push all the Nauli Kriya. I will do it in such a way that my right side becomes activated. If not immediately, it will activate in the next 5 minutes or so. I've done it with practice. So when my right side is active, I know it's extrovert, the sun is flowing, I can push my body a lot more, there will be less chances for injury and so on. Having said that, there are times, and I have experienced also, there are times, and I still do that, not very often, but occasionally, when I'm just not able to move it to the left side, to the right side. So those days I just take it easy. I will do lazy stretches because I don't want to go against what my body is telling me, right? Because sometimes we have an agenda, but it may not be for whatever reason. It could have been the food I ate, or it could have been something in my mind that maybe I didn't sleep well. For whatever reason it is, the body tends to be in a particular thing. But that happens very rarely. Once you know the technique to move the prana from one nadi to the other, then it becomes easy for you. Then there is another way to do this, and I used to do this first before I learned Nauli because I just found it fun, and it seemed to work for me, but it's been now decades since I don't do this. It's simply you take a roll up into a cotton ball or a cotton sock or a tennis ball, if you will, and stick it under your arm. Whichever arm you want to block. If I want to block the left side, I press the tennis ball under my arm and I keep it closed. And I can sit like this or I can lie on it for some time. It could take 10, 15 or 20 minutes sometimes, depending on people, depending on age, depending on the cycle of the moon, and there's so many implications. But within anywhere from 3 minutes to 15 or 20 minutes, you will notice that the other side becomes active. So that is one technique. Why do we have to make it active? I'll tell you that. That's why I want to quote from the scriptures, and we'll come to that. Then the next one, and I'll leave you with this tip, lying on one side. If you simply lie down on one side, you can keep a ball and lie down, or simply even lie down on one side for a bit, having a pillow on your left side. If you lie on your left side, the right nostril becomes active in about 15 minutes. If you lie on your right side, then your left side becomes active. A good tip for you is when you go to bed at night, you want to lie on your left side. When you lie on your left side, the left side is blocked and the right becomes active. Now you might say, wait a minute, right? Why right? Why do I need to do right again? Isn't right Surya Nadi? Isn't it an extrovert? Would it not keep me awake at night? And all of that. It doesn't work like that. When you lie on the left side, number one, of course, basic common sense, your stomach is supported, well supported. When you lie on the left side and sleep, assuming that you have had food about 3 hours earlier before you go to bed, which is at least 3 hours earlier before you go to bed, that's one of the basic rules of good healthy sleeping habit. So when you do that, the food gets properly digested, assimilated, and moved to different, and all the nutrients are absorbed, the gut and the microbiome begins to act. All of that needs heat in the body, warmth in the body. Your body itself, while sleeping, you need warmth in the body so you can sleep well. You can't sleep when it is cold, right? So when you lie down on the left side and go into sleep, then the body becomes warm. The internal body maintains the warmth. The Surya Nadi becomes active. Digestion is completed in that process, and all the nutrients are completely absorbed through the night. So at least the first 3-4 hours you spend sleeping on the left. It's a tip for you. If you can't, then of course you lie on the back. If you have some medical problems and you can't do that, of course then you have no other choice. So think about these. There are many such little tips that you will learn as we go along. But it's important why they would suggest these things, because of the importance of which channel needs to be open for the prana, the life force, to flow at that time, so that the body attains balance and health. Now, there are other ways to cleanse the nadis, not as a matter of choice. In addition to these practices, one of the most important thing is fasting. Fasting helps cleanse the nadis. Proper eating habits, timely eating habits, with periodic fasting, avoiding sugar and things like that. We will talk about these as we go along, but I'm just giving an idea. Then you maintain a diverse gut bacteria, the microbiome as they call it today in science. All of this, what science is now discovering about neuroplasticity or microbiome, and they say, oh my gosh, everything about the health of the bacteria, everything can be cured if the bacteria is healthy, and so on. They've gone to the extent of taking the healthy bacteria, the healthy feces from a healthy person and implanting it in the body of a sick person, so that the bacteria will multiply and make this person healthy. So they are coming to that kind of understanding now. But the bottom line is that you need to maintain a diverse, healthy gut bacteria. When that is done, that also helps in overall health, and that begins to reflect in a more powerful yogic practice, which in turn helps in cleansing the nadis. Chanting and sound vibrations help in cleansing the nadis. These are more subtle. This will take a longer time. And these are more difficult to achieve, because for achieving siddhi in a mantra, to achieve perfection of the sound, one has to be very, very mindful of sound that goes in and the sound that comes out of your mouth. Once I have an environment like that, then I can actually activate these kind of principles. It doesn't mean these principles are ineffective. They are very effective. But we need environments like that. We need a complete ashram lifestyle to make that happen. Or you convert your home into an ashram where every single sound that comes from the TV is conducive to you, because you are mindful now of sound and its vibrations. Then when you chant the mantra, those mantras become active very fast, and that activation of those mantras, the bija mantras and so on, will begin to cleanse the nadis. Not begin to cleanse, it will directly cleanse. They are very, very powerful ways to cleanse the nadis, mantras. That's why, Baba would often tell us, keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting, keep singing God's name, keep chanting. Don't gossip, don't talk about ill of others, don't waste your time in all of this. Keep chanting God's name, keep chanting. The secret is that, because they are very, very powerful. That's a very powerful way to cleanse your nadis, because then you'll experience higher dimensions. When you experience higher dimensions, you will not get caught in this mad rat race of this one dimension. You'll say, there is so much more to enjoy. Why am I getting caught in this? Right? So that's the beauty of this. Then comes meditation, which is even more difficult. Activating of the third eye chakra will powerfully cleanse all the nadis. But is it easy to activate? It's not, right? So, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't. I'm just listing things that cleanse the nadis at this point in time in our venture into understanding these 5 elements. This is like laying the foundation, right? But then meditation does help to a great extent in cleansing nadis. That's why if you go to the enlightened soul, they'll say, just sit and meditate, everything will be taken care of. But they're already there. They can do that, but just by the power of meditation, they can bring a lot of cleansing in their system. Now, There are other ways to cleanse the nadis. Now, this is Hatha Yoga techniques. I don't suggest you try this at home, but some of this perhaps I will do some demo and I'll see if I can show you, but you can always Google these as well. But I'll try and show you these, but I won't be able to teach you these online, so don't expect that because this needs personal supervision. The first one is Jala Neti. You all have heard of Neti pot. So water neti, you take a pot of warm, gentle, warm water with a little salt in it, rock salt in it, and then you put it into one nostril, you tilt your head, it'll go in and come out from the other nostril. Okay, and then you do the other side, and then you do bhastrika after that and cleanse the water. I'm simply saying, I'm not teaching you the technique of doing this, I'm just telling you what it is at this point. Simply a theoretical, conceptual awareness. Oh, there are so many ways to clean the nadis. That's all. That's the aim of this class. So let's not get into the specifics of that. Then comes the Sutra Neti. There is a Sutra Neti. So when I used to learn in my youth, I had a thread that was dipped in dipped in honey wax. And so that would be a little stiff on one side, and that would go in. And then I would open my mouth and pull it out of my mouth. It'll go in and come out of the mouth. And then you massage the nostrils. These days you get a catheter. These days when I practice it with a catheter. I have it in my shower. I just once in a while take it and I cleanse it. So now you have a catheter which is safer, which is cleaner. You can wash it and do that as well. So catheter, you can do it in one nostril at a time. You can do both nostrils. You can put one catheter here, another catheter here. You can massage both the nostrils together. Now for those who are practicing Sutra Neti or through a catheter, you will know for sure when we talk of which nostril is active, because it will be almost impossible to put through the nostril that is blocked. It will be very painful when you try to do that. It's not impossible, it's possible, but it will be a little more painful than the nostril that is wide open. Okay, so you have Sutra Neti. Sutra means thread, or we call it catheter today. So Jala Neti or water Neti, Sutra Neti or catheter Neti. Then you have Bhasti. Bhasti is another way to cleanse the nadis. It also, see, all these cleanses the body and brings health in the body, helps in gut bacteria, and then eventually cleanse the nadis as well. Some of them directly, some of them indirectly. Bhasti is one of those indirect ones. Bhasti is one that helps you cleanse the large intestine to a large extent, and then so that the good bacteria once again gets a chance to grow without antibiotics and all of that, right? The way it's allowing water through the anal passage. So the way this is hardly practiced these days. You actually have to take water through the anus. How do you do that? You need to have a tube. You need to have medical supervision to do that in a lab, in a laboratory, or in a clinic. But what the yogis taught, and the way I learned it with the young yogi, was when I was young and he was older to me, of course, he taught me. We went into the river, went waist deep, removed our clothes. He gave me a bamboo thing which was hollow, and he said, shove it up your anus, and then the water flows in, the river water flows in. He says, do nauli, we do nauli, and then we pass out. I know it sounds gross, but that's how I learned. He says that's how it was taught in those days. Whether it's healthy or not, I don't know. But after those days, I've never done it that way. I don't think I will do that again, because we don't need to do that. Bhasti is done in a more clinical manner. Hydrocolon therapy, as they call it these days in clinics, is one form of bhasti. Enema is one kind, but enema has chemicals and stuff in it, and in the way there are so many ways to practice it, but it's one way to cleanse. It's water. Important thing is passing water in and out. So you can check out hydrocolon therapy, which does that same thing without any chemicals, just water going in and out, cleanses. So that is bhasti. Then comes Dauti. Dauti is a tough one, is a difficult one. Not easy. You take about 32 feet into about 3 to 4 inches, this broad cloth, a thin muslin cloth. The sides should be stitched well, and there should be no loose threads hanging out. It's about 30 to 32 feet, and then you begin to eat it. Yeah, swallow it, I mean. So you begin to swallow it, and then you swallow the entire length. Again, do nauli, and some exercises, and then bring them and pull it back out. All the phlegm and all of that comes out of your body, cleanses the body. It's not an easy thing. Again, don't try this at home. It needs to be learned with supervision and so on. So these are techniques, okay? Then comes Gajakarni. Gajakarni is something, it's relatively easier to learn. You simply sit with a big bucket of water, and you keep drinking. And of course, there is rock salt mixed in it that's slightly warm. I'll demonstrate some of these to us if necessary as we go along in the classes, not as part of this series, but we will, as and when we get the time to do it. You keep drinking till you can drink no more, till you just drink and you start throwing up. Then you stand up, you bend forward, you stick your 2 fingers into your throat, and then you throw out that water. Then you again sit down, again drink, again vomit. So that kind of cleansing, Gajakarni. Gaja means elephant. Karni, just like the elephant does. The elephant can take water in the trunk, and he can throw it out as well if he needs to, right? So it is in that same manner that we can also take water in and throw the water out. If there is any infection coming in, if there's any viral kind of state coming in, if you feel feverish, it's a great way to practice this. But don't just right away jump into it. I'm not recommending any of these things, especially if people are under medication and things like that. All of these have to be learned under direct supervision. But these are very powerful methods of cleansing not only the body, physical body, that keeps it radiant and glowing. Your skin will be glowing when you practice these regularly. But in addition to, of course, the healthy lifestyle, I have to keep reminding us, all of us, that in addition to that, this becomes a very powerful and a beautiful way to do that. And in addition to that, in all of this, there is the Gajakarni is also mixed with certain exercises. When you do Gajakarni, you drink a lot of water instead of throwing it out. Now I'll drink a lot of water, I'll do a particular set of prescribed exercises, then that water wants to pass out of my bowels. So then I go to the toilet and pass. Then I'll come back, again I'll drink water, again I'll do those exercises, again it'll go out, till the point that the water that I drink and the water that comes out of my bowel movement becomes so clean that I will notice there is really no dirt left in my system. It's called cleansing, like the conch, Shanka Prakshalana it is called. It's a very advanced practice. It has to be done under supervision again. But those kind of practices are done twice a year ideally. Once during the Uttarayana and once during the Dakshinayana, summer solstice and the winter solstice. Those are the 2 times, any times during these times you got to choose and do it. Preferably done during change of seasons and not during peak of any season, like peak winter or peak summer. You don't do these things. But just as one season is ending, the other one is starting, such as spring is a good time now to do that kind of cleansing. Similarly, autumn is a good time to do that kind of cleansing. But nevertheless, those are things as we do, if there is an opportunity to learn that as a technique, then we'll consider the do's and don'ts and when and what over that. But at this point, it's interesting. I hope you found this interesting, this class, because there are so many ways to cleanse the nadis. Some of the easiest ways is simply to breathe in and out properly. So I want to thank you all for your patience and, as always, for your presence and giving me this opportunity to teach. Let me end this class with 1 Om and 3 Shantis. I will see you in the next class next week. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti